Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to another edition of Greenburgh Celebrates the Visual Arts. Today I have with me the prolific artist and community servant, Carol Sommerfield. Carol is from Ardsley.
Yes.
And her exhibit at Greenburgh Town Hall is just fabulous. It has everybody talking. And today I'd like to have a conversation because they've been asking me questions that I cannot answer. Hi, Carol.
Hi, Sarah.
We've come a long way from the day you showed up with 136 paintings.
Correct. Yes, we did. And as I said, most curators would have fainted when they saw all those paintings in the hallway. But you were steady, and we got it hung in, I think, 6 hours.
Well, the good thing is that you chose to do it on the second floor of Greenburgh Town Hall.
Yes.
Tell me why.
Okay, so it was serendipity because when I came to measure the space to see how much could fit, I asked the security guard, "Where's the gallery?" And he said, "Oh, it's second floor." So I took the elevator up, and you walk into the kind of hallway. This, it's like the spoke of a wheel. And so I thought, oh, it's an unusual space, but I think I can make this work because, as I'm sure we'll get into, I have a lot of different styles, themes, mediums. So I measured everything, and I loved the light. The light was very important to me. You could see outside, so you see outdoor light, but the indoor light is very bright. So when I called you and I said, okay, I'm all set, I've measured the space, I must have said something about the second floor because that's when you said, oh, that's not the gallery I was thinking of. So my husband and I came back to measure the downstairs gallery, and it wasn't the right fit for my work. And so
it's
it worked out.
It's wonderful because most artists feel that's the most important gallery downstairs, and I keep saying to them it really is not.
Right.
But you were able to see the opportunity. And the other part is I keep telling people, go upstairs and see the art upstairs. It is not that it is second floor quality.
Right.
It is that the setting was perfect for that exhibit.
Right.
Photographers like to use that space upstairs.
Yeah.
Anyway, when I said you brought so many paintings, I had not seen the entirety of what you were going to show. I never jury before I show.
Okay.
By the time an artist decides they're ready to exhibit, they're way past being juried. And your work has been exactly the kind of thing that I want people in Greenburgh to be able to see that their neighbors are producing work.
Right.
That's just high quality. The quality, you don't have to go into Manhattan to see really high quality art. Right. We have it here at Greenburgh. So you had themes, thematic.
Yes.
Tell me about the big picture first.
Okay. So it all started, I guess it was about a year and a half ago, Sarah, right? When we were talking about the date. And you had said at that point, let me know what the theme of your show is, or the name of your show. And so I thought, oh my goodness, I don't know yet, and she's asking me, but I've never been asked this early. But it actually, again, was serendipity because I had to think about it even before the paintings popped out. And I somehow hit on inspiration and interpretation. And that theme really drove all the new work. So anything from 2024 into 2025 was all produced for this show under that overall arching theme of what's my inspiration and what's my main inspiration? And then how do I interpret that? Because the interpretation to me is the fun part. It's the hard part, but it's also the fun part. So, so the show truly, the name of the show drove. And when I came to measure the second floor gallery, which was the wrong gallery, that also helped because I saw there were 4 hallways. And I thought, okay, this could really work if I can come up with 4 or 5 inspirations, which is easy.
And you
actually.
did a site installation.
Yes.
That's exactly what this
exactly,
is called.
Exactly. So it really, I've actually found the whole thing really inspiring to work for the show. Whereas normally by the time I have a show and I decide what the name of it's going to be, the work has already been created. And you're looking backwards to say, what's the theme here? But this one was the opposite process. And it really worked for me. So, so thank you, Sarah. I think I'm going to use this in the future to think of the theme in advance.
Okay. Well, for the 4 hallways, you actually had 5 themes,
5 themes.
you told me.
Yes.
So you ended up combining them at a certain point. But I can't tell where the line breaks because you flow along as you look at this exhibit. What strikes you is the different mediums that you're using. What are you painting? You paint in pastel?
Yeah, it's easier to say what I don't paint in. So and people ask me this a lot. They say, do you do ink? Do you do, black and white? Do you do pencil? Do you do charcoal? I don't. I love color too much. And being on the back end of my lifespan, I figure life is too precious. I don't need black and white. I just love color. Okay. So that then leaves me with pastel, watercolor. I do acrylic, oil, and mixed media at times. So that's basically my toolkit.
What got you started painting? Do you have professional training as a painter?
Yes, but it's a really good question because this is also why I love openings. People ask a lot of questions and they get you to think. And I get that question a lot. Oh, you must have, been early on, knew you were going to be a painter. I said, no, I'm a late bloomer. I really was average to below average in everything until my late 20s and 30s. So I can't say that, I knew. No, it wasn't that I drew all the time. I mean, other artists are like, that's how I spent my entire childhood. Not me. So this is all later life stuff along with everything else I've done.
Well, I have to stop you to tell our audience. She retired from a corporate career and then began to paint again.
Right.
This goes in line with what I say, that there's certain things we learn to love that we don't do early in life, but we come back to them, and they provide an impetus for living after we retire from a job that we may have loved, but we're no longer doing that, so we're free to do something. That's why I encourage everyone, have something that you love doing. Art is a wonderful way of self-expression, and I exhibit a lot of artists who show work they never thought about creating when they were very young. And I also think you bring a wisdom and a freedom to it when you come back to it like this.
Absolutely. So I really think, actually, one of my mentors had said, it's not about your talent, it's about taking your life experience. Like, I could never paint the way I do at 20. And I don't mean from an experience, like technicals, from a life experience standpoint. I think like with writing, if the more life experiences you have, the more emotional ups and downs through life, the more wisdom you gain, it all manifests into some sort of wiser creativity. So
I also think it makes you aware of the interrelationship of things. We looked at that painting that I said, oh, this has a fire to it. It wasn't that it was red, like the devil kind of thing, emotionally. And what happened is you said to me that, what did you say it was? You went to...
Oh, yes. So that was Glacier National Park. And just as in life, we were there and the Howe Ridge fire had started, and we thought, what bad luck. We finally made it to Glacier National Park, and now everything's closed because of this massive fire. But you could still drive around the perimeter of the park, and I remember being in the car saying, this is the most beautiful thing. I mean, it's so powerful, and dangerous, but also incredibly beautiful. And I
That's only wisdom brings you to that
yeah,
point.
exactly. It's
Yes.
not, and I got totally fascinated with it and how it changed, the smoke wasn't just gray, black smoke. It was purple, and it was, and you could see the glow of the fire. So I said, well, that's it. That's my next series, because I just have fallen in love with this. And that's an important thing. I have to love what I'm painting, because my process is to try to make the viewer love it as much as I do. So I can't do a painting without a lot of passion, because the passion then comes out as color or composition and so on. But my task then is to make you as excited as the Howard fire as I was.
Well, see, you've answered one of the questions I was going to ask. It's what you want your viewer to feel and take away, and you've said that. We could talk for so long.
Yes, we could.
about this show, because we could take each segment, but I want to ask you a couple of questions that people are asking me.
Yeah.
We put a guest book out for people to write comments, but people, I think they think that their comments aren't going to be important.
Oh, no.
But they don't realize that artists appreciate the comments
That's right.
that people make.
That's right.
And it's almost like being there and hearing their excitement or whatever they feel. But I love what you do. I love art. Therefore, when people ask me questions about your work, they think I can know the answers, and I cannot.
Right.
One of the questions that they ask is why your watercolor paintings don't just bleed across the paper and look like ordinary.
Right.
And I said, well, I actually followed a couple of people, and I started reading the tags, and you have identified the material on it.
Right.
And there is something called UPO,
Yes.
Y-U-P-O
Yes.
paper. And I said, I have no idea what it is,
Right.
but when I interview her, I will ask you, what is UPO paper? Does it affect how watercolor works?
Oh, absolutely. So actually, an artist friend who's also my muse, Gina Lombardi-Brader, she is fearless when it comes to art and trying new things. And she had heard about this UPO, which basically is photographic paper, so it's non-absorbent. So if you think about a piece of photographic paper, if you throw watercolor on it, it's just going to sit there, right? Mm-hmm. And so that's the whole principle. So you put your color on, and it is not going to absorb, and you have to let it dry. Sometimes it'll take hours to dry because it's not being absorbed into anything. Mm-hmm. But it does create a very interesting effect. You have no idea, it's hard to control, and you start with this effect. I love this process because I'm a realist painter, not super realism, but
at times you are.
At times I can be, but so that I have to break that habit because that's too safe. Mm-hmm. And this process is totally different, which is why I had so much fun with it. So throw the paint on the photographic paper, which is UPO. Yeah, just choose the colors.
Okay.
You can do other things like spray alcohol on it to make a certain effect, or throw salt on it, throw the kitchen sink onto it. And you just wait. You could put saran wrap, roll it up, just see what pattern that would. So you have no idea, right? You come back 12 hours later and you take everything off and you say, oh my gosh, what is this? What could this possibly be? And I sit with it, and I always say, I know, I personalize these paintings, but I always say, it will tell me what it wants to be. Mm-hmm. And many of those moon paintings started that way, where I'm like, what in the world is this going to be? And then I just look at it in the studio, like, who are you? What do you? I turn it this way, I turn it that way.
Your work actually looks like you drew first and then painted.
No. So this process it loosens me up. This is why I really love it. It's really, I think in many ways it's the most artistic because chance has given you something. This is also probably because I'm later in life, so I love this. Chance has provided you with something, but you don't know what it is or where it's going to go. And then it's up to you to decide what's working here. What would I want to keep because it's interesting or it works artistically? What's not working? And then almost work that way to come up with what it's going to be.
You belong to Rivertown Artists.
I do.
And every year they have open studio for all of their members.
That's right.
Someone came up to me at your opening reception and said, oh, I want to know where the, what do you call it? The puns you give away?
Oh, the wall of shame.
The wall of shame. And I said, she has a wall of shame?
I
and
do.
They said, oh, yeah. And she lets us take whatever we want
for free.
Because she doesn't think
yeah.
they're good enough for her. So you're telling me that things that you go back and look at that you have not been able to make something speak to you from it, you put on the wall of shame and let people take home. The woman said, it's my favorite place in her studio.
Exactly. People come not to see my work, but to see the wall of shame. It is the absolute favorite. And you know, Sarah, I did that for a reason. I have a philosophy about art, which is also why my prices are low. Everybody's like, why are these prices so low? Because art is not precious. Art should just be there to be enjoyed. If you're sick of it in 6 months, give it away to a charity and have it do some other work there. But I want people to see art as accessible and fun. So I know very often people come in anywhere, gallery, open studio, and they see all the good stuff, right? This is the stuff that worked. And I just thought, I want to show the horrible stuff, the stuff that is just, I'm not embarrassed. I mean, if you're not creating bad work, you're not creating.
Yes.
And
you're not taking enough risk.
Exactly. And you know, it is funny, one of the Wall of Shame paintings is in this show. I reworked it because I was desperate. I missed a moon. Only when I was writing about the moons.
What she's talking about, she has a series called Phases of the Moon.
Yeah, the full moon names.
Full moon names.
Right, so I thought I had them all covered, and this was like 4 days before we were going to bring the paintings. And I was writing, which is here, a little essay about the moon names. And I thought, oh my God, I don't have any moons for June. I blew it. And I thought, now what am I going to do? You know, painting under pressure, you have 4 days. Anyway, I had a Wall of Shame picture. Nobody picked it up for free, by the way. They thought it was funny because they said it looked like an orgy, you know, people like running around. I was like, whatever. And I turned that into one of the full moon paintings. So, and now it feels really good about its new life. But anyway, yes, Wall of Shame. By the end of the studio tour, most of my work has been taken because people love it. And I'm like, that's great because you love it. You're so excited. I'll even mat it for you because you're so excited. The little painting is so happy to have a home. And you know, and I think it also reinforces art is in the eye of the beholder.
It is, but I have to tell you, we don't often sell a lot of paintings out of shows.
Right.
Your paintings are selling.
Yes, they always sell.
And I met you at the Greenburgh Library when you did an exhibit there, and you donated all of the profit, all of the money raised from sales, not the usual 10, 20%. You gave all of that to various charities, I think, food insecurity, domestic violence groups. You gave your work away. This show, you've dedicated the entire sales to Lake
Muscadet.
Muscadet.
Right. It's a community where we have a summer home. I grew up there. My parents built the house. So I have very deep connection. And our community pavilion is falling apart, and we had a bad contractor experience. It's a long story, but we need funds to repair it. And without community is also an important part of this because without that pavilion, we can't really get together. You know, we're dependent on the weather and so on. So it's really important. It's the heart of the community. So when I do a show, I always think, who needs money? And of course, everybody does. I mean, particularly now. But this one just sung to me, and I thought, I think this is what I'm going to do this
Well,
time.
as a nature painter, so much of your stuff is set in nature.
Yes.
You have to be actively involved in it in so many ways. And the good thing about this is that it's not just a pavilion they're building. It is an organization that maintains the lake and the
Correct.
park around it. So it is this maintenance of something that means something to you.
Yes.
Again, it becomes a wisdom. One of the other things that I noticed is that I saw on your bio that you're the pollinator garden lady. And I have seen the pollinator garden down in Anthony Veteran
Yes.
Park. Because I know you love nature, it's not surprising, but for you to be so actively engaged
Right.
in it, it's like, when do you sleep? So tell me how you got involved with the pollinator garden, because you've gotten awards from groups for
Yes.
not just doing your own, but encouraging homeowners to plant pollinator gardens.
Right.
So tell me how you got involved in that.
Yeah, well, first of all, I do have a big connection to nature, and a lot of things are under threat right now, and one of them
Yes.
is our ecosystem and nature. So I've been very concerned about this a long time. I've been a native gardener since 1995.
Okay.
And now the winds of change are at my back, because this is news now about how we are losing all of our biodiversity and our birds and our pollinators and our bees.
Mm-hmm.
So, life gave me a wonderful opportunity to push this forward, because people are becoming aware of the issue.
Mm-hmm.
So we have two pollinator garden areas in Greenburgh.
Tell people what a pollinator garden is.
Right. So the pollinator garden is mostly native plants to support both the caterpillars for butterflies and moths, which are very specific to special native plants,
Mm-hmm.
and then also nectar and pollen for bees and butterflies. So to provide that food and shelter. And then, of course, this time of year, the birds eat all the seeds from all of those plants. So we're supporting a lot of different things. And so my friend Mimi Margulis and I had gone to Paul Feiner and said, Paul, you really need to do these pollinator gardens, and we can do that for you. So Paul very generously gave us 2 pieces of property, the AFV, which is by the food scraps, and then also a nice segment in Hartsbrook Park and Preserve.
Okay.
And so we worked with Greenburgh, we worked with Bronx River Sound Shore Audubon, who gave us grants for both of those projects, and we put in all native plants. They have to be deer resistant because both of those locations have Bambi. And they have to be tolerant of really tough conditions. And they are, and people just love them. They just love them.
Do they love them enough to go home and plant gardens
I
like
think
that at home?
so. I think so. I mean, we're doing a workshop at the Greenburgh Public Library starting in January. So we partner with them, and we do how to design this, how to plant it, where to get your plants, how to maintain it. And last year we had a really good showing. So we'll see about this year. So I think people are becoming more interested, and they just need a little help in trying to figure out how to start.
You're a full circle artist. If gardens and nature don't thrive, artists who paint en plein air and who paint things that they've seen will no longer be able to see them as they travel.
Right, right.
So you're actually setting in motion a future for the visual arts.
Yes.
And I find that a fascinating aspect. Most people tend to just be very narrow. You are not a narrow focus. I don't criticize it.
Yeah.
If that works for you, that's fine.
Right.
But I find that when I get an artist who's been involved in such a broad range of art
Right.
and such a broad range of community service and involvement, I feel that they're really doing double service. They're creating visual arts as you pass by.
Right, right.
So when I drive past the pollinator garden, I will keep check on that.
I mean, one other thing to interject, Sarah, sorry. When people said, there was a year I wasn't painting because I was very busy with the pollinator gardens, designing them and putting them in. And people said, well, what have you been painting? And I said, I'm painting with plants now. So it's yet another medium.
Yes, it is. You're creating material so you'll have a chance to paint. Well, you've gotten awards for all these things. You've curated art. You've been judges for art contests. You are just involved in the arts community. Right. Greenburgh is very fortunate to have a person like you in our community.
Wow.
I thank you personally.
Well, ditto. I'm very lucky to have Greenburgh.
Your exhibit will be up until the end of
January 29th.
January
I think it's the last
29th.
day.
Town Hall is open Monday through Friday from 9 to 5. Just come in, tell the security guard you want to see the exhibit upstairs also, and get a dash of fine art. And I thank you very much, Carol, for coming and doing and sharing these ideas with us.
Right. No, I appreciate it, and it's just been a ton of fun working with you.
Well, it was a ton of fun to have all those people show up for your opening reception.
Well, I have to credit the exhibit downstairs, which is excellent, and if you do come, please make sure to go to the exhibit on the first floor. So that was my feeder.
Oh, thank you. Thank you so much, Carol. It's just a joy. And I have to go back with you and look at it again and ask some more questions we didn't get a chance to talk about today. But thank you again.
All right. Thank you, Sarah, and happy holidays.
Happy holidays to you, and happy holidays to all of you.
Yes, and a happy new year.
Thank you for joining us. We look forward to having you back when we do another series of interviews of artists in Greenburgh, because Greenburgh celebrates the visual art. Bye.